Morning. Day 2 of planting inbound. I somehow happened to manage to beat the sun up as well, which is pretty impressive for me. I've got even more to get done this year than I have in years past, and I found that the only place I can find extra time is earlier in the morning and later in the evenings. Would you just look at that? Absolutely beautiful countryside here in South Central Illinois. Always blessed to be farming. There's our short 60-acre field that took us 4 hours to plant yesterday. Looks pretty good. Not gonna blame the planter. Seems like that was mostly operator error. New planter and tractor learning curve, I guess you could say. No worries though, we got the planter figured out. Just took a little bit. Today's a new day and I got mostly a full night's rest. So it's like nothing ever happened. Although I hammered most of the stuff out yesterday, I do have a few pressing items on my to-do list. Some are on the planter parked down there at Chris's house, and the rest is on the tanker trailer because our Hagee should be here soon. I don't know about today, maybe tomorrow. Still, we need to be ready to spray and got a few things to put on. The first thing is that my hose trough doesn't have any drain ports in it. So theoretically, if anything leaks out of my hose, it could just sit in here. This is just water, so it's not a big deal, but for long-term reliability, I think that I need to keep this area clean so we don't get any kind of corrosion developing. I believe all of this hardware is stainless, but I still don't want to run that risk. I should be more concerned that I just put a Milwaukee bit on a DeWalt drill. That's a start. Not sure if that is to code. With my fill hose having an air purge, really there should never be much liquid in here because I'm also going to cap the line every time I'm done with it. It's just an extra step to help make this more streamlined. Flawless execution on that one. Really quick, I cleaned up some wires running to this rear brake light. It doesn't look natural up here because it's not. It was on that outer stainless sheet that we took off. The machine shop just welded it to the back like that, which is probably the best case scenario given that we removed what it was normally attached to. There's no great way to house this wire. I tied down some of the slack in here. Next thing I'm going to do is put this not for hire sticker somewhere on the back here. My wife is going to kill me if I don't get this square. That's pretty good right there. Oh no. Okay, ooh, there's a little crease in there. I was like, not at the end. Quite frankly, that's pretty good work for an amateur. Is it perfectly square? Definitely not. There's a little bit of a cant to it. Oh well. Some of you unfamiliar with the logistical industry may be perplexed with the not for hire nomenclature up there. Basically, that is to indicate that what I'm hauling in this tank is not a commercial load. Whatever is in this tanker here is not going to be commercial trucking. I'm hauling our own product for our own use. On top of our load being not for hire, our semi-truck has farm plates. The farm plates don't necessarily get you out of any DOT requirements, but they do get you out of some of the licensing requirements for driving a tanker trailer like this. The reasoning for the not for hire is so if I do by chance run into a DOT person or a state police officer, they may see that I'm a not for hire tanker. I don't believe you can legally put not for hire on there if you are for hire, and that would maybe give me a little more wiggle room with the legality of my trailer. They may not like the way a hose dangles there or how I fasten some of these wires. There's a lot of things on here that could not get the green light from them because they have a little bit finer of a microscope than I would. And ultimately, we hope that if they get behind us, they see not for hire. That may help us have a little bit of grace if they decide whether or not to pull us over. The last thing I need to do is put this roll of reflective tape on the back bumper, and someone also told me you're supposed to have it down both sides of the trailer. I don't know if I even have enough tape to do that, and it looks like to properly remove that I'm going to need a heat gun, so we're just going to defer that project. I know most of you probably don't care about the tanker at all, so we'll move on to the star of the show, the DB60 planter. You just hop out of the truck and the scent of freshly turned dirt just kicks you square in the nostrils. I love it. Look at the finish out here. This will be going into corn today, and hopefully this will be going into beans. I don't know why I say hopefully. It's definitely going into beans today, if I have any say on it. I can't decide what's more impressive. The fact that it's finished this nicely out here, such a fine powder, or that the moisture has already left the ground this morning. Typically when it's still getting chilly at night, in the low 40s maybe, you get a lot of moisture that comes up. Much like soybean harvest, that moisture can delay your start a little bit because you need that top soil to be dried out to make sure your tillage is done effectively, as well as your seed trenches are closing adequately behind the row units. The speed in which they dry out is purely determined by the weather that morning, relative humidity, dew, sunshine, temperature, wind, all of those things. For some reason this morning, it looks like we're gonna be good to go as soon as I get this planter serviced. Around here, we check the oil every day. Not sure whether or not that's necessary, but it's what I've always been taught. Battery on. First things first, I need to unfold the planter. I'm gonna have to learn to be more patient waiting on this to unfold because it hasn't sped up at all in the first couple days I ran it. I don't need to go all the way, just enough so my markers clear the tractor. It's probably good. Flip it over to plant mode, hit OK, turn my markers on, put the planter down. Lastly, I'm going to extend both markers. There's a reason for it, don't worry. This planter is just never really in a hurry to do anything. I'd be done with the in-row by the time this thing unfolded. Should have brought a book to read or something. Both markers are 90% extended, right at an area where I can work at them with ease. Probably could have done this up on the planter, but I didn't want to climb up there. It's actually a long ways up to get to the marker. I'm going to make some adjustments to the coulter right here. Yesterday when I was using these markers to plant the in-row on my first field, I noticed that they didn't really leave much of a trench. You can adjust these markers or these coulters on the end to run at more of an angle so they dig deeper in the ground. I could barely even see what I was doing yesterday, and as a matter of fact, I had to go in and split in between the passes to make sure I got everything. So I'm just gonna loosen these off real quick, put a little bit of a cant on them, and they should cut deeper or at least leave a wider mark in the ground so I can see it. It's definitely necessary because I have really good vision, so if I can't see it, who knows what my dad would even do. What size is that? 22? You guys feeling lucky today? I'm not. Too small. Let's try 24. Perfect. Oh, I just dropped all that dirt in my socket set. See, this coulter is kind of loose now. We can just bend it a little bit. I may even go at max setting, like that. Tighten her down. Spin it a little bit, which is why we brought this thing. That's all there is to it. I'm gonna go run and do the other one. While I do that, we guys clean up all the dirt you spilled in my socket set. Can't take you all anywhere. Does anyone else think the planter kind of looks like a praying mantis when it's got both markers out like this? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm gonna fold them up real quick. That should be everything. I'm leaving the planter in this lowered, unfolded position because I will top off the tank with those Asgrow 33 XF3s first thing this morning. Planting the last of that variety on these two farms here in just a short amount of time. Wait, I've got one last thing. Both of my cameras stopped working. I walked around to see why in the world that would be. All my connections were secure. And then I saw a weak point in my routing of the wire. Yep, that'll do it. That's all it took to ruin my camera wire. I wonder if it's possible just to splice those together like electrical wire. Doesn't hurt to try. Just copper wire. I don't see any reason why I couldn't just splice that. There's no denying that it's kind of a Frankenstein looking job. I'm gonna hop in the tractor cab, see if that works. I have my doubts, that's for sure. Huh. Sometimes I even impress myself. I won't make you watch me do the other one. It was about a 10-minute project. Maybe I'll be able to do it faster, get that all secured and out of the way so it doesn't get crushed, and then find something else to do. It's crazy to think that video can be transferred over a copper wire, but it's as simple as rewiring electrical stuff. On to the next thing. I'm gonna check over the field cultivators, maybe take the big one for a ride. The brand new 2230 completed its first full day of tillage yesterday. I noticed that Katie was dragging some stuff around the edge that either she wasn't paying attention or it was too dark to notice because there's a little bit of streak through the field. No big deal. I'll shine that up real quick. Looking to see if anything is misaligned or out of place. Not giving it a microscopic inspection by any points. it does appear good to go. Now to look over the older field cultivator in the 9620R. Yep, looks like a field cultivator. Or a digger for you guys in the Northwest Corn Belt. Should we take it for a spin? Yeah, I think we should. I'll be graceful and let it warm up for a little bit before we take off. Holy moly, this thing burned over a half a tank of diesel fuel on the first day of tillage. Only worked 300 acres. Back this off a little bit since we're in worked ground. Put her in gear. Rock and roll. Look at that finish out the back. Picture perfect. Hello? Is anything even behind me? Almost 13 miles an hour? To be fair, I was only going 1.5 inches deep. I'm in some soybean stubble right now. That is a little bit on the heavy side. Bumped it down to 2.5 inches, which is much more realistic of what we're going for in this type of ground. It's pulling the tractor down a little more. See right there, I got it set to 3 inches right now, 550 pounds on the basket. Running 12th gear, just under 9 miles an hour. That looks fantastic for 8 o'clock in the morning. I better call Jeff over here to run this beast. If I could put that in a candle, I'd be a millionaire. This 9620R is one of my favorite tractors on the farm to run. It is just so nice. It has so much power. The only thing it's missing is footrests. Now, if we had the new 9R640 and the Ultimate Cab, we'd have footrest and massaging seats like my 8R370 has. I'm going back around the outside, cleaning up the ends that have already been worked once. Almost in road gear right now at 1.5 inches deep. I'm like a blur in this field cultivator. Look how fast I just passed that. I could probably grab another gear if I wanted to. I'm getting demoted. Oh well, I've got other responsibilities.
See, that one's been kinked.
Huh.
This one's kinked.
Oh yeah. Dad noticed a few kinked hoses on the DB60, not surprising. What is it kinking against, do you know?
The hose.
Oh, like the weight of it is.
Yeah.
That seems like a poor design.
Don't go up anymore.
Whatever you do, don't let go of it. That hit you?
Hell yes, it hit me.
Well, I literally told you, whatever you do, don't let go of it. And that's the first thing you did is let go of it.
I didn't let go of it. It slipped out of my hand.
You missed. I think I picked the right job here. Yeah, make sure it's hooked before you let go.
Okay, I'll see what we did. Now we just have to find somewhere to keep it there.
Yeah, but that's still gonna kink. I mean, it's the weight of the lines that's kinking that. It's great from this point on because they're all wired separately in tubes, but it needs more bungees or something. Must just be a right side thing because the left side looks fine. Takes a decent amount of pressure to kink this, but if a lot of weight is pushed against one point, like it was against the strap on the other side, you can kink them. They should run fine until they kink enough that there's an actual elbow in it, because then they could actually shut closed. I would know pretty quickly planning if that happened because I wouldn't have any seed to a unit. Dad and I are doing a quick scouting trip around the block at 50 miles an hour, seeing if anything looks dry enough to farm. It's still so early in the season, especially on some of this lighter soil, that the likelihood of it being ready to go is pretty low.
It's wet out there.
Yeah. Most of the stuff we started on are our traditionally drier farms. Fell apart. Still need a day or two. Yep. If you can make a soil ball big enough to throw at someone and make them jump, you know it's too wet. Dad just dropped me back off at my pickup. The general consensus was that we really need another day of drying on most of this stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and plant today. He's gonna plant a little bit today. Then we're gonna see what everything looks like around noon. I'm gonna go get my tender and some beans so we can fill this big rig up. Almost had it in the first try. Had to roll forward a little bit. Got jolted. Wish it would just settle in on the first try, make my life much easier. Never does though. We're ready to rock and roll, go over and get some seed beans. Always got to say hi to the dogs at the farm. This is Maisie. That's what Katie's named her. They say petting dogs is good luck, and we need good luck today. He said, please don't leave me with these people, they're crazy. Looks like we may have a little extra help over here. Dad and Chris are loading some corn. Timed it perfectly, didn't have to help them at all. I get it right on the first try? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. We did 2 boxes of the Asgrow 33XF3s yesterday. Some of that will spill over into this field. I put too much on the tender. It was really just the easiest way to do it because when they're in boxes like this, it's just easier to put it all on and worry about the extra later. I'm doing 2 more. Looks like we got a 42 unit box and 41, so 83. This will be the last of our Asgrow beans. The 33XF3s are all that we're planting this year. We've really reduced our Asgrow numbers down because of lack of performance last year. Hopefully these are good yield data coming out of them, so we're giving them one last shake on about 150-ish acres, give or take. I'm gonna go ahead and load those up. Fired up, Chris. Shut off. You don't have to clean it out in between. Finished up, get the planter loaded. I'll talk a little bit more about the agronomic decision making that went into our reduction in units of Asgrow beans. To be fair, there was also some economic considerations. There's really 2 sides to every story. Dad and I are going to be planting right across the lane from each other. He loaded up a box of Pioneer 1359. It's a pretty much go anywhere corn, kind of like these Asgrow 33XF3s. They really don't have too much of a preference in terms of ground. They can go light, dark, wet, dry, anything. That's why you like to have some of these versatile, more defensive type varieties and hybrids in your lineup, because you do have some farms with a large amount of variation and growing challenges. Those seed blower fans are so loud you can hear them from a mile away. That's got to almost be the soundtrack for planting season, is that sound. Just the blower screeching away. For the most part, hybrids and varieties do have a preference for where they want to be placed. There are some, like the ones I just showed you, that kind of go anywhere without too much give or take either direction. There are others, though, where you only want to put them in certain field conditions. Some are what you would call racehorse hybrids, probably going to put them on your best ground, highest productivity, well drained, because they are capable of performing phenomenally in that environment. If you take that same hybrid and put it on some light dirt, maybe drier, sandy, it could just be a complete train wreck because it just does not have the genetics to perform there. Kind of like you and I have our own individual strengths and weaknesses, our hybrids and varieties have things that they're good at and bad at. Some of them go everywhere. Some of them you only want to put in a few select locations, but if you place them correctly, they can do incredible work. To expand on that point, that same thing can be said not only about where you place the hybrids and varieties, but how you place them. Some hybrids like to be planted in a thicker stand, a higher population. Others will not do as well in a high population. Maybe an average to low population is better. That scale also changes on the type of soil and drainage. So there isn't really a set standard for what you should do where. You have to look at the individual traits and performance of those hybrids and varieties in select locations and decide what the according or optimal strategy is for that number on your farm. Imagine that, the 9620R at a fuel barrel. It's like its second home. All that horsepower comes with a price, fuel consumption. I stopped by the farm to pick up everyone's favorite employee, my sister Katie. I didn't realize he didn't finish that field last night. Katie's at her tillage tractor. She's gonna take off, start working some corn stalks for me, get them dried out. I'm gonna go load my planter. It looks like Chris is here for moral support because this is kind of a one-man show. There goes Katie, starting her tillage adventures for the day.
Shoveling though to fit it in.
These are the last of our Extend-Flex beans, so I'm going to try and shake the conveyor loose. Anything I don't get out of here when we move to an enlist field will get killed by the herbicide. We're still not in too much of a hurry, so I'm gonna go ahead and make our lives much easier. Take this home while we've got some time. Chris is gonna run me back here to the planter once we get this parked at home. Don't worry, planter, we'll be back. It's like we never left. While the screen boots up and the tractor warms up, I'm gonna see what my afternoon's gonna look like.
Hello?
Does that look like it's gonna work or plant?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right, see ya.
All right.
Confirm that the ground is in good shape. Now I gotta get approval from the boss.
Hello?
Jeff said it looks like that'll plant today. You want me to just go ahead and send Chris for beans now?
No, because we're waiting till that. I have corn to run me all day.
Okay, so you just want to wait? I mean, he's not doing anything right now.
Okay.
Dad hesitantly approved my plan. Now I gotta call the seed dealer because we gotta go pick them up in bulk. If I send Chris up in the next 15 to 20 minutes, can you give me some beans or you swamped? Okay, I'm gonna need 100, 105, 31 A73s.
105, 21s.
Yep, 105. All right, thanks, Wes. Now I gotta call Chris because he runs seed back and forth. A lot of phone calls.
Hello?
Dad said I'd go ahead and send you. I called Wes. He knows you're coming. He knows what you're getting. Okay, now we can focus on us. Hello.
How think you plan those?
160K.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Completely unfolded. Let's flip her over to plant. Have to hit OK a million times. Turn the markers on. We want the left one. Wing forces on. We're ready to rock and roll other than priming it. It's a great planter other than almost needing a PhD to operate it. PTO is on. All three vacs are now on. Wait, there they go. They were just slow. Look at all that dust going out of there. Huh, seed metering system issue on the following row. 8, system disabled, motor communication issue. I'm going to ignore that warning. Valid power range. That's what I get for talking bad about the planter. Won't fill. What was it, row 8? Let's go look at it. That is row major problem with all these electronics. They're hard to diagnose in a quick fashion. Hydraulic leaks and chains popping off the gear like the old planter did is usually pretty easy to identify. Electrical issues could literally be anywhere under that thing. Okay, well, I guess there's only one thing I can do. Cycle the power. I've got high hopes for you when you start back up. If you're not working, I may be more disgruntled than I was yesterday. This one is most likely not on me. Really? That's what fixed it? Incredible. Yeah, just cycle the key real quick. That's all it takes to get the $500,000 planter working. Assuming I don't have any issues, I'm going to plant the in-rows and then check back in with y'all. That I completely pummeled halfway through the east end, didn't make it around the field halfway one time without having a major issue. Does anything look out of place right there? Huh? Anything at all? Seed tube off, beans all over the ground. There's like a geyser coming out of there. It looks like some of them have hose clamps on and other ones don't. That doesn't make any sense. They're all sliding off. Why don't they all have hose clamps on? Look at that. On a much less serious note, I cannot underestimate how hard I hit that corner post or middle of the row post. I mean, I smoked that thing. The other side has a couple, but maybe it goes back to our issues here. I don't know. They're going to be replacing a lot of hoses here under warranty. Oh, just noticed another problem. Look at this seed hose. It's like it needs to be held up here to give more slack. That hose is kinking, that hose is kinked. Once they start to kink, they're basically junk. I'm not saying it won't deliver seed, but it's not the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be rigid. Why would these not all be hose clamps? Long story short, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this for the rest of the day. This pretty much needs to be fixed as soon as possible. If it gets hit again, it is going to seal over, crease over, and the beans won't get to the row unit. That big jumble of a mess, I mean, I'm not even gonna waste my time on it. We have one good thing going for us. Our marker coulter that we adjusted is leaving a bigger trench now, so I should be able to see that. It should be expected. There's always kinks with a new machine. Hopefully they stay on so I can plant. We managed to plant the rest of the end rows as well as a few of the point rows without that tube hopping off there. I've been keeping a close eye on it. It looks like with the adjustments I've made to the entire bundle, it has the right weight behind it to not pull off. That is planting the field directly to my west, and it looks like he's being rude and driving right over what I just planted. Oh well, he can do that, he's the boss. Oh, never mind, I've got a row planting low. Row 9. Wish you could see historical, that'd be cool. Like, what was it doing a second ago? It was literally the minute I started to do something else, it broke on me again. First thing I usually try is just re-priming the units, get some more seed there through the tubes, lift it up, release that fan pressure, then put it back down, build it back up. Maybe there was just a blockage in the line or something. Row 9 that wasn't planting has been giving me issues, or I guess not issues, but it's been planting lower than the rest of them this entire time. I'm gonna back up here and give it a shot to plant, and if it doesn't plant, well, we'll have to get out and look. Okay, well, we're gonna have to see what it is. I probably planted a good 10 acres or so without any issues, so I'm not gonna complain. We're just gonna look it over. Like I said, this row has been giving me issues with low population. Oh, it wasn't sealed all the way. This little lip here wasn't sealed all the way. Now that I think about it, I probably ought to just walk the whole planter and verify that all of the outside plates are sitting in the groove correctly. A little gap allows some vacuum to not build up in there. Vacuum is obviously crucial for the row units to perform at 100% capacity. Oh. Still a little bit low. 9, 56, 50, 45. Oh boy, that didn't fix it.
At least for the most part, this planter is the same as the other one and how it functions. I'm just gonna pop it open and make sure it's even got seed. The vacuum was the easy fix, and that could have been some kind of a unrelated issue, but it's acting like it's not even got seed. No seed! Not seeing any kicks. There it goes. I heard something new. There we go. Finally got some.
Row 9, 146, 149, 151, 153. It's interesting that all of these rows here are running low together. When it's on one side of the planter like that, it almost kind of concerns you because it makes you think that there is a issue going on that's related. Like row 7, 135. So it's not super low, but I'm shooting for 160, so it's 15% off. And that's at 5.5 miles an hour. It ought to be dialed in at this speed. Guess what? Row 9's acting up again. I'll let you know what I find. Okay, we've got multiple issues now. Row 33 does not have downforce. Row 9 is not wanting to feed. I turned the fans up, I turned the vac up, and that didn't do anything for me. Oh man, what a mess. Brand new planter, all these issues to be worked out. I know I voiced my opinion in the last video, which was kind of a waste because all those issues were probably on the operator, but these are not on me. This is just silly. One thing after another. I'm not gonna bore you with my research and discovery back there. I'm gonna go look around it again. I walked around the back, other than a hydraulic leak I couldn't really trace. I have no idea. I'm gonna try restarting the tractor. Am I the problem? Is it me? Because I can't figure this out. Dad and I just talked it over. As long as I can keep seed to the units on this side of the planter over here, one row without downforce is not a big deal. I walked it and there wasn't very many seeds on top of the ground, though I am going to slow down a little bit. Still no pressure on that row, which is unfortunate. Not a surprising issue though. I've tried everything in my book other than cleaning some of the connections to get it to work. I don't exactly understand what's going on right here. There's a group of rows that are continuously planting low. I'm running 5.5 miles an hour right now. This should be spot on like the right side of the planter, yet it isn't. I will keep you updated on that one. Hopefully row 9 does not give me issues. I think that's asking a lot though, based on what I've seen so far today. And there's my warning for row 9 not planting to target population. Row 9, 26,000, 20,000, 19,000, targeting 160. Basically, it's low enough that I need to stop. I went ahead and made the executive decision to just shut the tractor off while I try to figure out this row issue. There's no reason to put hours on our tractor and burn diesel fuel just sitting here when I'm not making much progress. As a matter of fact, I may be chasing my record yesterday, 60 acres in 4 hours. I've been out here for close to 3 hours, and I don't even know if I've got 30 acres planted. No, 20 acres maybe. I'm almost done with this little field, but I got a couple more pieces around here to get. I'm gonna fish around this line, see if I can figure out what's going on. This is row 9 right here. I'll be darned. There's your problem right there. Perfectly jammed in the tube there, which you can't see is a chunk of something. I don't know if that's treatment or what. I'm gonna try and fish it out. Would have been right at the length where it was hitting that pipe. Wow, Asgrow, look at that. A piece of soybean. How did that make it through your multi-million-dollar sizing and cleaning system? That was just jammed in my tube. And it was treated too, so it did not come from me. Amazing. This downforce sensor's not working. I really have no idea what's wrong with it. I trusted you there. Didn't even check and see what it was. The electrical contact cleaner and the glass cleaner look the same.
Oh my God, is it?
No, his contact cleaner. That's what I said, I trusted you there.
I looked at you had the 3 in the door, and I thought I could set.
There's been numerous occasions where I've pulled the glass cleaner thinking it was electrical cleaner. I've answered the great mystery of row number 9. That soybean stem piece was perfectly wedged in there. The other odd rows in the same area I haven't figured out. I don't know what the issue is there. We're just gonna try and plant. I cleaned all those connections. I'm doubtful that it'll fix the downforce, but we'll give it a shot. My row units are still planting low on the left side, but the one that was giving us the most trouble has subsided a little bit. I really don't know. Okay, quick little update. It's been a few hours. The downforce resolved itself for some reason. Our salesman from Alliance Tractor came by. He helped me try and diagnose what was going on the left half of the planter with the low populations, about 10 to 15% below the target, which was much worse than the rest of the planter. We really could not come to any ultimate conclusions. I am appreciative that he stopped by. They are pretty swamped when it comes to actual mechanics right now. Everyone's going here in Central Illinois, so pretty much all hands on deck. Because the issue was every other row on the left side of the planter, and the middle rows are still hitting right around target, and the rows that were underperforming were still putting 140,000 plants per acre down. That is not really super concerning, or at least not enough that I'm going to stop the planter. Most research indicates that 100,000 plants per acre in soybeans is actually an economical stand, meaning that that will get you your maximum financial output. We just like to err on the side of caution and have multiple extra plants out in every row, and of course it gives us added weed control. By going 5 inches wider than normal, we are asking our soybeans to do a little bit more work in terms of weed competition. I'm not that concerned about it, especially because we're planting early. There shouldn't be too much in terms of weed outbreaks because we should reach canopy around the same time. Notice I say the word should a lot because anything is possible. I'm the only one left over here south of the farm. Dad was done in just under an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. He broke something on his planter. Field cultivators have worked multiple farms and moved on to greener pastures. Well, drier pasture may be a more fitting term. As long as I don't break down again, I should be done here soon. The technician from Alliance Tractor just stopped by. He looked at row 33, didn't see anything out of the unusual, told me just to keep an eye on the connections to the sensor, and showed me a few things on the tractor that I can do to kind of play around with those individual units if they're giving me trouble. Of course, this planter doesn't want to work right all day, and then when the big bad mechanic shows up, it works perfectly fine. Go figure. I did manage to run out of seed though at a very inconvenient time. Oh boy, we've got a big disparity. Yep, it's gonna take me a moment. I moved a few small bucketfuls over to this side. Should at least finish this field, but I got another handful of acres on the bottom piece to do, and it's the last of these beans. Somehow we miraculously made it to the end there without running out of seed. We've got a whole nother challenge though, and that's finishing the rest of this little bottom piece with what seed we have. I somehow managed to luck out, and my dad showed up right when I was going to transfer seed. Sorry I didn't have the camera on. This whole new planter business is actually kind of exhausting. This bottom piece is only 9 acres. I'm guesstimating that I will run out of seed very shortly. Chris is here with a couple loose bags of Pioneer 3-1 Enlist beans, so should finish this off with no problem. I just started to run out there on the end of that pass, so I'm going to run over to Chris, get these couple of bags, and see where that puts us. Just hopped out, put a bag of untreated Pioneer 31A73 Enlist soybeans in each compartment. Most importantly, Chris brought me this Coke Zero. I haven't had lunch or breakfast. As a matter of fact, that may be why I'm so tired right now. Probably gonna run out of seed, so I sent him to get the seed tender. I've got some more beans on. They're Enlist beans, these are flex beans. We're going to be spraying Liberty on our flex beans, which won't kill our Enlist beans, but we're gonna be spraying Enlist on our Enlist beans, which will kill our flex beans. I know that is very, very confusing, and it's hard for me to explain that in a simple manner. It basically just means before I move to the next field, I need to make sure I have all the flex beans out of the planter. Even if there's some Enlist beans in with it, I may just have to dump them out. I just ran out of seed. I ran my population up to 500,000. Now I'm basically just cleaning out the tank and the units. Chris is showing up with the seed tender. We're going to top off with fresh Enlist beans. You know my dad's out of dry dirt to plant when he's here supervising. There's Chris right on time. Alrighty, that's 2 nearly full seed tanks of Pioneer 31A73. It should be more than enough to finish the field we're on, which is only an acre, and then we're moving to a big 92-acre field tonight. Probably should have had that done by about noon, but this planter is really seeming to test my patience. The 105 units of beans we just put in was not enough to run us out on this last acre. I'm going to fold up, move about a mile to 2 northwest of here, which is west of our main farm, to one of our higher productive farms. We're going to get those planted tonight. People may not be too happy with me because I'm about to creep down the road, seeing as I'm fully loaded with beans right now. Probably not the best idea on this DB frame to just haul butt when I got all that weight. Pardon me, wide load coming through. I've got a good feeling about this field. 90 acres would be more than I got done in the first 7 hours of planting, but that's not to say it isn't impossible. Okay, let's spool up the jets here, see what we're working with. Once we get this north end planted, we'll hop out and check the depth. The soil's a little different than what we've been working with all day, so we want to make sure we're dialed in. I will say that this planter is much easier to back up than the other one. It doesn't have that dynamic pivot point at the front that makes turning it complicated. Would you look at that? We don't even have to walk far to check this one. About 1.5 inches in the ground. That's quite a ways in there. Let's check where the trench is actually closed. The depth shouldn't actually change. Plenty of moisture. We are on a lighter hill up here. It is going to stay wetter. Looks like when the trench is closed, it's more like 1.25 inches. There is a little bit of rain in the forecast, but it's not guaranteed. I'm going to leave them where they are. You always want your beans in the moisture. If they're laying in dry dirt, they're not going to germinate. We can still count on some moisture working its way up. The only issue with putting it too deep is if you get a very hard rain and form a crust over the top, the soybeans are going to have their work cut out for them trying to break through that. Ultimately, a lot of them will break their necks because they unfurl out of the ground and you get a poor stand. The higher populations we plant not only help with weed control, but also give us a little more room for error when it comes to emergence and final stand. We don't need every single one to come up to get 100,000 out there. As long as 75 or 80% of them are there, we're good to go. Of course, we want them all to come up. That's kind of the goal when you put that many down. Whatever you do, Andy, do not rip out the neighbor's cattle fence. That is like rule number 1 on this farm. They would not be happy, and I would not enjoy fixing it. This is the only ditch we farm next to that we haven't figured out how to farm the bottom of it yet. And believe me, we're working on it. Just look over there. There is not much bank on the top. I hate to say it, but it was going great until I had a no-till coulter not spinning. Wonder what it grabbed. Fascinating. Looks like it's gonna need some negotiating. You never know what you're gonna find. That's still got green paint on it. Unless that's from the planter. I guess if you're planting high population, it does not show singulation or seed spacing. It has nothing to do with speed. See, data not available at high target rates. So I guess we don't get to see that unless we plant some corn with it. Still around 160K Pioneer 31A73s. The first 2 numbers, 3-1, indicate that it's a 3-1 bean, meaning this will be one of the first fields we harvest this fall, especially because we're getting it planted early. There is some kind of relationship between planting date and final maturity. However, most of final maturity is determined by photo period and day length. Lenny and Allie joined me for their second official ride in the planter. That's 2 days in a row. Lenny has been promoted to my lap because I'm a little more confident in my ability of operating this planter, though I have to keep a pretty firm grasp on the steering wheel or else he's going to kick off my auto steer. He's working pretty actively at doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I finally found the rose amongst all of the thorns I've been dealing with the last 2 days. It's either the planter figured stuff out, or it's because I switched to Pioneer beans and I've been planting Asgrow for the last few days. Either way, we are absolutely cooking with gas now. I'm flying. There are a few rows still running a tad bit on the low side. Dad and I tabulated how many bags we used versus the acreage for the first field. We did some backwards calculation to see exactly what our applied rate was based on bags used. So we adjusted our population down from 160K down to 158. It's planting heavier than it's saying up here, probably because I'm going faster than the units really like. The math shows that 158, we're probably going to get closer to 160,000 actual applied, which is our true target. Hello? Mr. George? Anyone home? I've got one round left. It's probably a half mile one way, so a mile down and back. That adds up to quite a bit of planting for a 60-foot planter. Handful of acres there alone. The issue is that I ran out of seed in one of my tanks. We're gonna see if we can level it out on our own. If not, I told my dad that if I ran out or had issues, I was just gonna quit for the night. Yep, there's the troublemaker right there. I actually may have enough seed to finish this. I'm just gonna have to do a little manual labor to get there. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't teach you this move in college. Take notes. I needed those. Can't take you guys anywhere. It was going pretty smoothly until I spilled a quarter of a bag on the ground. Oh well, you'll have that with the big jobs. Both tanks are even. Obviously I took some out of the other, so it's not going to last as long as it was originally going to. If I can at least make it halfway on this round or one through, I'll be satisfied. Jeez, those are bright. Bugs like them. I doubt I even make it to the other end. Guess we'll find out shortly. Just ran out of seed before I was about to start my last through. I know both tanks are fairly low, so it's probably not worth my time to try to shimmy seed over from one to the other. Normally we'd keep a couple of extra loose bags on the back of the planter. I guess we just didn't think that far ahead this time. Since I'm just a mile west of the main farm and it's not gonna rain tonight, we're not gonna do anything crazy to get this planted. It's already pushing 8 o'clock, going on 8:20 right now. I got to work at about 5:45, so I think that is a pretty good work day for day number 2. And we didn't even hit it that hard. I'm glad to see the potential this planter has to offer. At this point, it seems like any issue is on me, like keeping seed to the planter. Maybe as a good operator, I would have thought ahead a little bit and had enough seed, but I also didn't expect to run out on the previous farm, which is probably where this whole snafu is originating. No big deal, we do not really have many dry fields lined up. There's some here or there. The field cultivators have been running intermittently. Dad has a few fields he'll be able to plant tomorrow. Myself, I'll have one through for sure. Other than that, I really don't know. Maybe, just maybe if we're lucky, I'll get my hands on the Hagee and I can put some residual herbicide down on all the corn stalks that I've planted so far. I think this rig has earned a night at the farm. That's the least I can do. Oh boy, she's heavy. You can feel the tractor squat down when the draw bar picks up all this weight. Looks like I'm the only one not at home. Alrighty, I'm safe and sound at the fuel barrel. I'll probably top this workhorse off in the morning. Diesel fuel and DEF both. The government special. It really is amazing how much better you feel when what you're running is running at the caliber it's supposed to. or at least that is what I think makes me feel better. Could have been the food rate, I'm not sure. One of the two. I'm not gonna keep you on the hook any longer. I'm going home. I really appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I'd love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!